There's one, I guess there's two. So maybe, can you just, do I just take it off and then we're good to go? Test. Test, test, test. Okay. Is it? You want to hold one? Sure. Well, then we'll just pass. Boy, we're starting in 1 minute. Test, test. Well, this is kind of awkward. Because of that, I would say maybe us force it into these ones. All right. I mean, what do you think? I'm okay. You just tell me where you want. Let's think in, so I believe it goes Ashley, Stephen, and then you for like introduction. So maybe we sit in that line. Or does it matter? Or do you think I should sit over? Maybe I sit on the edge. You want to sit the far end? Yeah, maybe I don't know how. Yeah, let's do that. I'm blocked in the way back, but that's okay. So you want to sit over here? No, I think like you guys middle, because you guys are the center of the show. And then just be moderated Q&A. Okay. And then end portion is the test demo with cool. Interaction. Okay. And you have that, those slides. Slide, and I know they have some video stuff they're working on for yesterday. Yeah. Okay. And then we have an hour. So we'll move quickly and we'll do it. Keep the Q&A and kind of flexible and wing it. And if it goes over, I'm okay. Huh? If it goes over, I'm okay. Yeah. It goes into people's lunch hour. And well, so it might start. Yeah, but well, I think after the keynote, we're going to be just fine in terms of. Yeah. Things. Yeah. You're going to absolutely. Yeah.
How do we deliver best-in-class products today while keeping an eye on the horizon?
Test, test.
How do we deliver best-in-class products today while keeping an eye on the horizon of Earth Industries? By using everything at our disposal. Because at Viaflex, creating innovative solutions to complex customer challenges is why we exist. Viaflex, protecting Earth, promoting industry.
Home. It's more than an address. It's where you step out and snuggle in, or you share and dream and do. So you shouldn't have to go far from home when you need care, whether it's for something common or complicated. We believe you deserve world-class health care, no matter where in the world you live, because every patient, everywhere, means the world to us. Here for all, here for good. Sanford Health.
Since 1956, Aerostar has been challenging the limits of technology.
Aerostar is an aerospace and defense contractor that works on high-altitude stratospheric balloons, radar systems, and protective wear. And our mission is to connect, protect, and save lives.
Today, Aerostar is a diversified technology company that continues to be a world leader in the design, development, and manufacturing of aerospace products. For decades, Aerostar has been at the forefront of high-altitude research and has a distinguished history of collaborating with university, scientific, and military partners.
Back in 1956, there was a lot of new technology being developed. There was a lot of testing for pre-NASA space race scientific research. Some of the first work that they were doing with the high-altitude balloons was before they had put people up in rockets.
For years, Aerostar has collaborated with NASA to use high-altitude research balloons in Antarctica. Felix Baumgartner was carried by an Aerostar balloon to the stratosphere, from which he completed his record-shattering space dive. Aerostar has spent decades refining high-altitude balloon technology, designing, engineering, and manufacturing the end product. It is a technology that can get balloons to the stratosphere reliably, inexpensively, and from anywhere in the world.
A satellite is reasonably expensive to put into space, and it doesn't just happen quickly. The balloon is orders of magnitude cheaper than that. What a balloon can do is it can navigate to a certain point that you can specify, and it can linger there for weeks or months on command. I can put it where I want it or in the vicinity of where I want it for a long period of time, reasonably inexpensively and with short notice.
The possibilities only grow as Aerostar develops smaller hardware and smarter technology.
We say not even the sky is the limit. If you take what we know about flying in the stratosphere that we didn't used to know, add into that better battery technology, better solar technology, better computing and navigation smarts, I think there's a lot that can be done that hasn't been done before.
Finding a place to belong is everything. It's where you can make a difference, where you're heard, where you have a team that supports you, and the benefits you deserve. At Avera, you can find that place. You belong at Avera. Apply today. Avera.org/careers.
Oh, hi there. We are Daktronics. We create some of the most sophisticated and iconic scoring and audiovisual systems on the planet that ensure your projects deliver impact. We're a passionate group of designers, fabricators, project managers, sales, service, digital artists, tech gurus, and engineers. We design, code, test, fabricate, bend, punch, insert, paint, pack, ship, install, and service dynamic audiovisual systems. Oh, and we also create the incredible content that goes on them. We do everything, but most importantly, we listen to our customers and together find successful solutions for their brand and messages to deliver impact. From the small projects to the large, that's what we do. We innovate, we design, and we light it up. We are Daktronics.
At Premier, it's about doing what's right for our customers, employees, and communities, giving our time and resources to support what matters most: academics and athletics, arts and entertainment, families and economic development. When you have the right people, financial solutions, and a spirit of service, you build one of the nation's strongest financial organizations. First Premier Bank and Premier Bank Card. Investing in you. Member FDIC.
All right, good morning, everyone. How are you all today? Good? Awesome keynote. Thank you for joining us for the Future of Work session. My name is Holly Meyer, and I'm the Sustainability Coordinator at the City of Sioux Falls, and I have the pleasure of moderating our terrific panel today. We are going to move into a few housekeeping items. I think. Oh, there they are. Okay. All right, so the session is being recorded today and will be available for registered attendees after the event. If you're here for Sherm Bass credits, the code is up on the screen right now, so make sure you capture that. And then we will be having a moderated Q&A. That's going to be the largest portion of the session today. So again, thank you for joining us. All right, so our panel is really terrific. You're gonna love them. They've got a lot of expertise and value to bring as we talk about the future of work and the technology and innovation that is currently happening in the workplace. We have Stephen Timms in the middle there. He's the Chief Operating Officer at Viaflex. Vincent Gardner on the right. He is Senior Operations Manager at Amazon. And Ashley Wenger-Slaba, Senior Vice President of Employee Experience, Education, and Workforce at Sanford Health. And they are going to be introducing themselves a little bit more as well. But I'm going to give a little bit of an introduction on the session and a little bit of background information on the type of information we're going to be talking about today. So, in today's fast-paced business environment, staying ahead means embracing the transformative power of intelligent systems. Automation and artificial intelligence are reshaping the way we work, creating exciting opportunities while also presenting unique challenges. This will be an insightful session where we delve into the dynamic landscape of the modern workforce and explore the trends, opportunities, and hurdles that come with it. Our panel of experts will share their valuable insights on strategies to thrive in this ever-evolving ecosystem. Learn how to adapt to the changing workplace, upskill your talents, and foster innovation to ensure your success in the new economy. From this session, you'll also gain a competitive edge and unlock the potential of automation and AI in your business and organization. Thank you for joining us as we uncover the future of work together. All right, and then just a little bit more information on SHRM-BASC. It's the Organization Management and Technology Management component. And attendees will learn about new and emerging technologies to support the organizations, including advice and guidance on the usage of new technologies. So thank you for being here. All right, a little bit of background information and data to throw at you before we jump into our panel and introductions. All right, so technology is transforming the world of work in several areas, as we all know and are probably experiencing in our workplaces currently. With automation of routine tasks, according to a McKinsey report, by 2030, up to 30% of the tasks in about 60% of occupations could be automated. This would lead to a significant transformation in job roles and responsibilities. With productivity enhancement, businesses implementing AI-driven tools and technologies reported significant gains in productivity. A survey by Deloitte found that 82% of early AI adopters saw a positive financial return on their investment. And remote work and collaboration. The COVID-19 pandemic accelerated the adoption of remote work technologies. Zoom, for instance, reported an increase in daily meeting participants from 10 million in December 2019 to over 300 million in April 2020. And AI and customer service, AI-powered chatbots and virtual assistants were increasingly used for customer support. Gartner had predicted that by 2021, 15% of all customer service interactions globally would be handled by AI, and that trend is expected to continue and increase. As we see this increase in technology and really how it's transforming a lot of aspects of the workplace, it's also helpful to consider how this could affect skills and job outlooks as well. So with skill shifts, the World Economic Forum estimated that by 2025, over 50% of employees would require significant reskilling to adapt to the changing job landscape driven by automation and AI. Data analytics and cybersecurity is also impacted. The demand for data analysts and data scientists will grow by 36% between 2023 and 2031, according to the US Bureau of Statistics, and LinkedIn listed data analyst and machine learning engineer among the fastest growing job titles. And then finally, with the increase in digitalization, 1 million cybersecurity professional jobs were added in 2023 alone so far, and that trend is expected to increase as well. So a lot of things happening, and that's just really information to give kind of a background and set the stage for what our panelists are going to be talking about today. And now we will get to panelist introductions. So I will pass it over to Ashley.
Thank you. Thank you everyone for having us here today. My name is Ashley Winger-Slaba, work at Sanford Health. As we talked about, I have the privilege of leading our leadership, education and development team, as well as our employee experience, which includes our DE&I work and our employee and labor relations. And as part of that, we are really focused at Sanford upon how we become an employer of choice for the changing demographic of our workforce, and what it means to be proactive in terms and with respect to the HR aspect of helping the organization have foresight into which jobs are going to change and how do we retain our people but upskill our people so that they can be successful in change with the changing needs within healthcare. A little bit about Sanford. If you're local to Sioux Falls, you are probably aware that Sanford is one of the two big healthcare giants in town. But what you may not know is Sanford has about 26,000 employees within South Dakota and North Dakota, and about 40,000 throughout its entire footprint, if you include Good Sam and the broader footprint of Sanford. We are our goal is to be the premier rural healthcare organization. So really have that focus on rural and how we reach patients with technology. And we heard Paul talk earlier this morning, if you were here for the earlier session, about what it means to have virtual care and how that's changing healthcare. We are also, though, experiencing a lot of what they talked about, where we're pulling in employees from a much broader base than we ever have before. We are certainly finding ourselves competing with organizations across the country for all sorts of talent. A few things that we are going to talk about later. We are definitely cautiously going into the area of AI. Within healthcare, there are certain challenges, and we'll talk about that in a bit, but we are piloting different initiatives right now and look forward to sharing that with you.
Hello. This is great. Standing room and sitting room only, teenagers. That's fantastic. My name is Stephen Timms. I'm Chief Operating Officer at Viaflex, and we'll kind of talk about what Viaflex is a little bit here on the next slide. But kind of similar to what you said, what Viaflex is doing, and I'm guessing what they're saying from Amazon, is we're trying to more aggressively dive into AI and leverage that through our business, whether it's through ChatGPT, Copilot, which I'm going to talk about a little bit through Microsoft, and some other mechanisms within our enterprise resource systems like our ERP platforms that help us be better business enablers. We've welcomed it to most of our place, but Raven, if you go to the next slide and talk about Viaflex here for a second. Viaflex was formerly part of Raven, or Engineered Films was part of Raven Industries, and about 1.5 years ago we went private and became Viaflex. We're the film side of that business. We have 6 locations across the U.S., around 500 team members, 250 roughly in Sioux Falls, and we have a 24/7 manufacturing facility headquartered just right over by the airport. You can actually see the towers when you guys are walking back to your cars and your vehicles today. You'll see the big Viaflex sign up there. And so a lot of what we're working on the last 1.5 years has been carving out from Raven, standing up new systems and business practices, and adopting new IT policies and procedures. We've got some staff here with us today. Derek's a gentleman here that's kind of the lead on our AI front, as well as manufacturing automation. So we're going to show some videos later of some automation equipment we've added within our operation to further that along. So that's it for now.
I think this is a video from...
There's a video. It might be mine.
I think it is.
Then if you don't have any, maybe this might be a video for later for the section, but we can have him introduce himself.
Perfect.
Hi, everyone. My name is Vince. I am the Senior Operations Manager here locally for Sioux Falls with Amazon, small company. Amazon, I'm pretty sure everyone is familiar in one way or another of Amazon. But just here locally, I manage all things outgoing. I manage the workforce, the technology side of things, coordinating between new and upcoming integrational projects, workforce staffing, all of those things. How do we work seamlessly between man and technology, individual, and all of that. Fun facts about Amazon. Our facility here, if you take everybody in all of South Dakota, you can fit them in that warehouse with 3 feet around you. Fun fact around that. We do a lot of things. If you guys want a size comparison, we deem this site as a medium-sized site. So I just moved from Utah. That is a large, basically it doubles the volume that we're able to produce out of this facility. So yeah, if you have more questions, super big on Amazon knowledge. So happy to be here to talk about it and our integration of technology with it.
Great. Thank you all so much. All right. So as you can see, we have really great panelists today. So I'm excited to hear from them as we move into the panel discussion. So starting off here, all of you mentioned some AI pieces, and that's one of the large pieces that we're talking about today. In the news, we hear about AI a lot. We hear everything from, it's very scary to it can solve all the things. And so I'm curious, how are you all thinking about AI in your industry specifically, and what are some of the pros and cons that you're considering?
So I'll start. Within Amazon, we use actually AI, even within our own website. We actually use a lot of our technology pieces to help drive customer recommendations, right? So if it says, hey, a recommended piece on there, that's through several things that are going out, even through history of the seller and all of those things. And it's basically outputting a recommendation for the customer based on their overall profile of what they've been looking for. But some of the cool things on the warehouse side, we actually have started integrating even more so on how do we standardize our AI. It's standardizing our procedures, how we're operating, not just having one facility operating in this method and then another one in a completely different one. They may still kind of have the same overall achievements. However, if you try to bounce from one facility to the other, you're trying to figure out a whole new process. So AI has actually helped us standardize how we're going about and operating that. It's also helping us to add on additional new technologies where we can actually speed up our process, where we're able to deliver to customers faster in driving those things.
So ours is a little different angle on it. We've really focused AI more from our knowledge workers or our staff to help accelerate writing skills, to help accelerate our IT team. I'll give an example quick. Derek's on our IT team here, but as we carved out a Raven quick, we used it to leverage how to quickly write a script to automatically change all the printers across ViaFlex to connect to our new computers, and that the AI and ChatGPT helped us accomplish that with one simple sentence. I literally just used ChatGPT last night to draft numerous emails or correct numerous things or do numerous analysis on financial data or certain things that we've had come across. We met as a leadership team a little earlier on, our CEO's here, Scott, and we had what we call a sales and operations summit where we flew all of our leaders in, and we kind of showed them ChatGPT early on, about 6 months ago, 8 months ago roughly, and said, look, we're not going to block this for the company, but we want you to be aware of how to use it and how not to use it, right? For instance, don't copy customer information up there and things like that, but paste and maybe an email and say, hey, please rewrite this for professionalism for a Midwestern client. Or, hey, please review this press release and emphasize X, Y, and Z before we send this out. And so it's been used in that vein primarily, again, from a knowledge worker standpoint, as we've seen it. But what you'll see in the news recently is that Copilot from Microsoft's recently came out. It's their AI version that's going to now integrate into all Office products and Office suites. And so what we're going to be able to do is leverage and prototype how Excel, Outlook, OneDrive, everything you have, you're going to have a chat bot that you're going to be able to chat with and say, hey, prep me with bullet points for my meeting. And it's going to know from my Outlook, from my chat Teams history, etc., points to consider, maybe some old data and some files that I've got in my file folders on OneDrive, and give me some key points to reference before my meeting and make me be more efficient and smarter in that aspect. So we've been diving into that kind of head first, I'd say, but cautious also to make sure that we're not pushing too far, because we're different than healthcare, right? That has different restrictions. So that's kind of what we'll be talking about later in our area.
Thanks. And to your point, I think healthcare, compared to my other panelists, will probably always be a people-intensive industry compared to others. But we've really tried to focus on AI and how it can help augment the work that we're doing and take away some of the administrative burden from those that are working to allow them more time with patients face-to-face. So a few examples of how we've used it in different areas. We have something called Paradox that our talent acquisition team uses that helps both our talent acquisition team as well as the managers automatically schedule interviews so that they can spend more of their time as a talent acquisition team actually engaging in the interview process and kind of giving that intensive candidate care with that part of the hiring process as opposed to just the scheduling back and forth. Another spot we're piloting right now within Fargo and Sioux Falls, something called Artisite, and that's a technology that provides remote nursing support and documentation support, and it's actually a Sanford nurse that's working remote, but it also has a feature of AI where it helps predict fall risk for patients, which is one of the most common causes of injury. And so that's been really successful thus far, and something we're hoping to be able to expand throughout our other facilities as well.
Great, thank you so much. I think we have heard a really vast array of uses of AI, which I think is really interesting. So I'm really glad we have all of your perspectives on the panel. So shifting a little bit maybe toward automation, and I know that there was some touching on this as well, but thinking about automation, how is that impacting your industries and the types of jobs available in healthcare, manufacturing, and warehousing and distribution industries?
Like I said, I don't think in healthcare we're going to replace people with automation necessarily. However, I do think it's going to help us meet our workforce crisis in the sense that we don't have enough candidates and we know we have an aging workforce. So I think it helps us work smarter. It helps us, potentially be able to do the work and still spend as much time as we want to with patients. And I do think it's changed and is continuing to change how we need to train new employees that are coming into the organization. Artisite has been an example where we are piloting it and learning from our staff how to adapt the technology to make sure it's actually, in fact, helpful and not adding, truly taking away that burden, not adding to their day-to-day work.
So we're a large industrial manufacturer. Some of our products are up to 9,000 pounds that we might produce, right? Large rolled sheeting goods. And one of the areas we focused is high strain work, high effort work that has most of our labor within Sioux Falls, kind of 80-20 focus. And we have a certain area of our work center that we take those large rolls of plastic and we break them down maybe for ice rinks or for below concrete within this facility. We actually just put our vapor barrier material below the concrete of the new Augie Hockey Stadium, for instance. But that was a very laborious task. We saw shoulder strains coming from those areas. Staff didn't like doing the repetition of that work center. And so we brought in a firm from the outside, right? We don't do what a lot of other companies do for our material and our size business. And they helped build an automated machine for roughly $3 million that we put in place about a year and a half ago. And that reduced down roughly 11 staff members that we don't need because it's 3 times as fast, takes about a person to run. And what I was interested in seeing, and I've got a video of it later, is the staff in that department welcomed it and loved it. And we weren't sure how that was going to go, right? We let them name it at the family picnic. We had let their kids put names in. It's named the Claw, which I think is from Toy Story, which is really dumb, but it's fine. And they love it, and because it took a task they didn't like doing away, right? And to your point, labor's hard to find, right? And so this is one less thing to focus on. And the other flip is we were able to hire higher end talent to run the line and maintain that type of equipment. So it upskills kind of the type of work that we're going to have in our plant. So we're really on the early stages of this, but we're seeing some really good initial results, not likely to the level where Amazon's at yet, but our own flavor of that here, the Midwestern way, is kind of how we're looking at that. So.
Yeah, so for automation, when we talk about from the look of Amazon, we go back in the days, or if you take a look at a startup company, right, you typically have some shelves with some inventory. You may have an individual go from shelf to shelf, much like a supermarket, as you're going up and down your different aisles. That's kind of how we started out here at Amazon. However, in 2008, I'll talk about an integrational piece. We bought Kiva. It's these, at the time, they were orange robots, and what they do is they go around and they pick up things and they bring them to individuals. So what this did was it actually increased our overall productivity. And what I mean by this is we used to have associates walk around doing their shelving, trying to find items. Granted, we knew where the items were at, but they had to go to their different sections. A typical Amazonian, we called them pickers, they would walk anywhere from 12 to 16 miles a day just to get these. However, now what we did instead was we now bring the shelves to the picker. This reduced the overall walks from 12 to 15, 16 miles a day down to about 2.5, almost overnight. And a lot of that is being driven by the fact that our system knows where on the shelf, it knows which, we call them cubbies, where on the cubby this item is at. It knows the dimensions. It knows all of these things. It knows the weight. And it says, okay, the customer wants this. All right, well, I've got it stored here. This is the fastest delivery to make sure that it gets there. When we talk in overall speed of our associate or of customer packages, Back in the day, it used to be 5-10 minutes of actual customer shipments being handled with an Amazon worker. Now, from when you click button in my size type, which is 18 inches or smaller, to actually being delivered to your door, it's about 2 minutes of actual human hands being handled with that, to put that in overall perspective. Still not where we would want to be at, right? We're still always looking and being more inventive in that pace. But as we look at how we're trying to produce things faster, we are using that AI. We're using that technology piece to reduce that time frame of getting you the shipments there quicker.
Thank you so much. That was really great. What I heard was a lot of your organizations are, utilizing automation and AI. Ashley, you mentioned to augment certain tasks, perhaps, and support employees, and then really sort of offload some of those more challenging, complex tasks as well. How are you supporting employees and preparing them for these new technologies that you're using? Any training or other pieces you're using and implementing to support them?
Yeah, so anytime we roll out a new piece of technology, we obviously do the testing phase. We have sites that actually do testing. We have sites that kind of are our first line of, I'll call it defense, of how we're going to integrate this on a larger scale. But as we roll it out, there are trainings. We have virtual trainings. We have on-site trainings depending on the size or the difference in how we're going to be operating. We even go so far as we'll send entire teams to certain locations to train in those new processes or into those new AI technology pieces. Like I talked about with the robots, it used to be we just had a Kindle, right? But now we actually have vests that they wear, and the robots know where the vests are at all times, and they're being able to actually go and interact with the robots in a more personal manner, in a much more fluid manner, where we're not having to just look at our computer screen or Kindle trying to map out a path so we can navigate through these Kiva fields, or Amazon robotics as we now call them. But as we're doing that, it is a lot of training. We make sure that we keep everybody up to date. In fact, we have classes that are on regular time schedules to make sure that they are up to date and always being constantly told the newest information that is going with that, and we can keep track of that.
Yeah, ours is a little different. So we're just getting started, right? And we're piloting things that are not from companies like what you're dealing with. So for this first project, we actually sent a team. The partner we found was in Chicago area, and so they did a full training where we sent a team to their locations and other customers that had similar equipment. But again, it wasn't the same as how we use it, because ours is a very unique process. But they would get certified in Fanuc robotic controls, for instance. And so they'd get certified in that process. That's an annual renewal process, and we've adopted that in some of our training curriculum on the technical side. But again, we're very early in this. And one of probably the biggest things our automation engineer or consulting firm came in and said is, but we wanted to automate everything overnight, go crazy. Or I did at least. And they're like, start small, 80-20 with your most highly area of success, right? And you want your team to know that this will work. You want your team to know that this is something that has positive momentum, and then grow from there. And that's what we've been kind of focused on, is we picked a very niche area of a certain size, even down to the certain size cores that it can handle, but that does that very well. Now we can take lessons learned and kind of apply that to other areas of the business, but kind of start small, but then still move fast to other areas as we see fit.
Thanks. I think your comments are spot on. I think the importance of doing things with a pilot first, or adopting a technology in a sandbox setting where you can have your current employees give feedback and input is key. I think AI has a really scary connotation or reputation too, and so if teams are not going to embrace it and not going to truly feel like it's solving the problems they have and their pain points with work, I don't think it's ultimately going to be successful for your organization, or not as successful as it could be. So I think that's a really key part, is making sure you're getting and then incorporating that feedback before you roll it out. The other part for us has really been around establishing some guidelines. We actually don't have a formal policy, but just guidelines that we've published. We have some additional compliance issues from a protected health information perspective, making sure we're educating all our employees on what you can and cannot do. None of us as patients here want our protected health information used in ChatGPT and then shared with anyone else. And so making sure all of our clinicians and everybody else understands what they can and can't do with AI.
Great, thanks. All of you mentioned really working with employees and coordinating with them and bringing them up to speed. And you've also mentioned sort of enhancements of jobs or, augmenting. But I do want to ask this question specifically. When you're working with people and talking about these initiatives, are you hearing concerns about job displacement due to automation and technology? And what steps are being taken to address these concerns?
I know initially with our Artisite rollout, we had some nursing concerns and questions about would this be an effort to reduce nursing ratios or replace nurses that are at the bedside. I think what we've been able to help people understand is that we need every single nurse we have plus something. And so really, again, like I mentioned earlier, really just an answer to those gaps in our workforce. Not so much a replacement. I do think, though, it seems almost like a hyped up, from a media standpoint, some of the concerns. I think a lot of times when people realize what AI is and the span of what that incorporates, they realize they've been utilizing little bits of AI for years, and it's just finally being talked about more. So.
I cannot believe the media is exaggerating something. That just does not feel accurate to me. So on the equipment front, I mentioned like our team members, they welcome it because it's taken painful processes out of the picture for the most part, right? Early on, at the early stages here. On the AI front, on how knowledge users are using things and how I even use it. Anybody watched Fast and Furious and those movies? So I'm watching it with one of my kids right now, and I'm looking at cars for her, and she wants a stick shift now, which is super strange. And so like I'm using ChatGPT, like what's a safe stick shift that's all-wheel drive? I live in South Dakota, I want good for winter and blah, blah, blah. And I got 8 results. I guess I'm getting a Crosstrek. But it was pretty neat. But so from that front, we use it at ViaFlex as like a level up, right? It's like take your current job you're doing and just do it better, right? Do it quicker. Take the mundane tasks that you need someone else to help you with and just automate it, right? Have, it's grammar check, spell check, putting meeting schedules together, it doesn't get you all the way there. Like I don't take anything I put in it and copy, paste, and send, right? But it gets you pretty darn close to what you're looking for if you give it a flavor of results and things like that. So we're really embracing it. I think for a lot of our team, they're excited about what's coming with it when you kind of pitch it like that, that it's not really replacing jobs, it's making you more lethal in your current position you're in. So that's how we look at it.
Yeah, Amazon, I can actually think of a couple of times Amazon has actually gotten this specific question from the media. And as I look at it, right, when we talked earlier about like how we've progressed throughout our technology throughout the years, we're still in a labor shortage. Even here in our current market, right, like we cannot hire enough people to meet the demand that is currently there. We are continuously looking for ways to innovate. But it's more of how do we innovate in a way to make someone, to your point, of more lethal in their capacity. The other part to it is we also look at how can we help with our workforce, right? So we actually partner with local colleges that are available to actually help increase that knowledge base to help them out. And so if at a point we do end up, right, we actually have people that are switching from our normal tier 1 associates, our pickers, packers, and they're actually moving on and helping out in our IT department. They're actually moving in and they're helping with our maintenance team, right? We want to provide those opportunities because at the end of the day, while we need people, we want people to know where they want to be and help them get there. And some of those avenues are with AI, right? We look at what are these individuals saying. In fact, we actually have a question that every associate manager gets every day, and it literally is completely anonymous, and it actually provides details, one, to the individual managers, and then two, as we go up further up, to kind of get a tone of how is our facility doing, how is our network doing, how's our region doing, and kind of getting some of those. We also even go so far as to have like my voice comments. We call it my voice board, where associates actually have free reign to voice their concerns, voice their suggestions. And what it is, we actually compile that, we look at that, we actually respond to it day to day, where we can voice these and have these things. And some of them are actually driving some of our actual AI. So I think from a responsiveness, it's been very welcoming to the point. Yes, we do have people that may not fully see it, but for the most part, we actually do see quite a lot of acceptance of, hey, you're trying to make my job easier. We're not trying to replace anybody. It is, how can we help better all of our customers, right? Not just our actual customers, but even our associates and managers that are there.
Great, thank you, everyone. So I think we'll do one more question before we shift to the tech demos, and then if we have time after that, we'll ask maybe one more final one. So shifting gears a little bit here, I think this might be applicable for many in the room. How is technology shaping the future of HR from your perspective, maybe your industry's perspective, and from a recruitment and onboarding to performance management and employee engagement perspective?
Wow, it's like my last answer kind of led into this one. So yeah, like I said, we do have the question of the day, kind of get that vibe. But even from our HR standpoint, we're working more and more on the recruiting side, where we're using AI to scan through resumes that we're looking at. We're also looking at what are qualifications even within our own organization to help and reduce bias. We actually use AI to actually suggest certain individuals up for an interview, so that way we get bias taken out of the equation. And so we're looking at it from all fronts, right? So when we look at the HR side, we even have some of our systems that are all tied together from a productivity, a quality, all of these things to remove that bias aspect of it. So when we look at HR, it's really that bias piece that we're trying to get rid of. So we all have bias tendencies, but it's that HR AI side that we're trying to remove that from.
I think, one example, we have a lot of regions we recruit in, and like Virginia or Texas or spots that, maybe we're not as familiar with. We can leverage some of the tools that we have to do, some regional research and help target maybe our job postings and descriptions that are a little more personable than maybe what you do in South Dakota or Sioux Falls, for instance. So really targeting, like Midland, Texas, for instance, Friday Night Lights, right? Midland, Odessa, we got a plant down in Midland, Texas, and it's a different type of workforce, right? And there's different ways to word things and message things about our shift, our environment, our culture, that, we want to make sure it fits with the audience that it's intended for and not necessarily the audience that it's used to. And we've seen good, we're just getting there through that process. I'm not obviously in HR. HR's here. Hi, Julie. Making sure I don't say anything stupid. But in general, it's been something, again, to level up our managers across the board with even interview tips, right? Give me some great questions to ask before my next interview, and here's their resume. And boom, you got 6 great questions to ask. So.
Two big things come to mind for Sanford HR. One is in the area of predictive analytics. Much like Amazon, Sanford does engagement surveys as well as pulse surveys. And we're trying to pull together the data from those, as well as PTO usage, generational data, and to try to identify which teams are at risk from a retention perspective, and then deploying our additional HR resources accordingly, so that we can identify those leaders in trouble and hopefully intervene and wrap resources around them before we have that loss of employees. The other main area I would say is really into that workforce planning area that we talked about a little bit already, trying to help the organization identify those jobs that are going to be changing. And then not only how do we upskill our current workforce, but how do we partner with our schools and in the neighboring states to equip those students that are coming into the workforce to be ready to handle those new technologies. So,
great, thank you so much. All right, we are going to pause on questions for now and move to technology demos. So we have a couple technology demos on AI from Stephen and from Ashley. And Stephen, I believe you're up first, so I'm going to pass you this clicker as well, so you can move through your videos. And then you can do an introduction of everything.
Well, I want to go back. Where was might be here. The main video, this one I think is the automation one. If you want to hit, can you go back and hit play on that sucker? I think it's this one that actually shows. We had our team do a drone flyover. We actually use drones in a lot of our facilities and a lot of our job sites for quality inspections as well. But this one, if we get it, will highlight nothing. There we go. This is the line I was talking about that we put in place. And so what you'll see is a large sheet in the back, but so far no human intervention. We'll wrap the sheet. And this is the robot I was talking about that does basically 4 different things. It's programmed to grab the pallet, it's grabbing the slip sheets for the cardboard, it's grabbing stackers, and it's able to handle the rolls itself and build full pallets of rolls without any human intervention. At about 2 to 3 times the output we used to have manually with 3 people just for this one work center. Snaps a final pallet label on that's tied into our ERP system with the weight. That's 1,900 pounds, and that is now ready for shipment. So that's something here in our Sioux Falls plant that's pretty new, and that's one example of how more of the tactical automation that we did. And then if I jump forward here towards this, who in here's used ChatGPT? Okay, thank God. So I just read a quick text message helping explain blown film extrusion benefits versus cast to one of our customers. And hi, customer. Blown film extrusion offers significant advantages: uniform thickness, exceptional strength. So this is for us, we are in a very niche space. This is for roll mulch for California and for Florida-based films that make strawberries. Yet it knows enough to give a very good initial customer response or customer answer or marketing material for that example. So that's one example we have. That you can kind of see environmental friendly. We can take emphasis of this. You can obviously go back and forth between this, but we encourage our sales team to use this, right, as they're going to an event or going to see something coming up. Next one was, what's a good calculator for converting rolled goods from X length into square footage? Because we have all sorts of units of measures within ViaFlex. And it will real quickly, if you need to convert that, here you go, here's a formula, and I'll do it for you. And it's simple stuff like this that you find yourself using, again, like a level up on a daily basis. It's not big stuff. It's little things like this that end up adding up to have pretty meaningful value. And the last one is please review and rewrite the following something. So I believe this is like a press release, or this is an example of something that's like, look, we just don't love how this is going. Give me some feedback. I think I put a whole bunch of context in it. Oh, this is a policy. I said, please review our ViaFlex travel and expense policy and give us any suggestions you have from other companies or things that you'd recommend. And it basically condensed down, broken into better bullets, gave some feedback on areas of concern that you may consider from a manager standpoint, from an HR standpoint, from a legal standpoint. And again, just using the tools available to us to be better, right? To level up and pretty much everything that we do. So gift cards, non-compliance, policy reviews, things to consider that maybe we didn't have in there. So, and then I think that's good for mine. And then let's talk about Artisite. Did I say it right?
Yes, although my music is not nearly as jazzy as yours was, so.
Good.
Oops. All right. It's the screen one?
I think you can do it there. We still need people, see? Right?
I think we have talked about it. There is just a vendor video showing how the remote nurse works with the bedside nurse, and how it can kind of monitor different points on the patient's body to show that fall risk, and then like send an alarm to the nurse that's actually in the facility for them to go check on the patient if they're getting up and they're not supposed to, so they can intervene with that fall risk, which is pretty cool. And we've already seen in several instances where it's really been the key to just improving outcomes for some of our patients in Sioux Falls. So
Great, thanks, Ashley. Are we able to get the video? Are you? No. Okay.
No.
Okay. Sounds good. That's okay. All right. So I think maybe we'll wrap with one final question. And I want to kind of gear this maybe to the folks in the room and the folks watching online. So we've heard a lot from you all today about how you're incorporating AI, automation, technology in your businesses and industries. And I'm wondering what recommendations you have for the folks watching you on how to move into this space more, on how to lean into the benefits of AI, sort of that you showcased, Stephen, just now. What tips, recommendations do you have for them?
I would suggest that we embrace it. I think the baby steps, though, are important, that we trust but then verify the information we're getting. We do know that it's not always accurate, and there is human judgment and just discretion that is going to always trump technology, and so I think we do need to use it cautiously. And I think the other main point from me would be to bring along your teams to make sure that they have input, and that bringing them along slowly part is about making sure you don't disengage your workforce at the same time that you bring in technology.
Yeah, it starts at the top, right? And so as leaders and companies, embrace it, learn it, and surround yourself with smart people, right? That like that type of thing, right? That are into AI and are embracing what they're using it for. I started using it. Derek, who's here, Derek, raise your hand. Derek used to work with us at Raven. We hired him back at ViaFlex, and he actually heads up the AI group here for Sioux Falls. Not just for ViaFlex, and he'll actually be here later this afternoon if people have questions for a lot more detail behind what we've been doing. But go after it. I mean, it's out there, it's coming. It's not like it's anything new. We have it like forklift fleet management. There's all sorts of stuff you can be using it for depending on your healthcare business, Amazon, ViaFlex. There's no excuse not to try it. And my honest opinions, if you don't start diving into it, you're gonna be left behind, and you're gonna regret it down the road. So.
I would say question it, to your point, but I'm going to take it a step forward, is question what you do with your time. Time never goes backwards. It always moves forward. So question what it is you're doing, and if something can help you speed up that process. The more time you get back in this life, the better, right? I'll be the first one to say your work should not be your life. I believe wholeheartedly in work-life balance, and the greatest way that I've seen that happen in the workforce is through AI. So if I have to do something at least 3 times, I'm already looking for something else to do it for me. I refuse. It's a personal belief. If I have to do something 3 times over, there needs to be some way to automate it to some level. So that's my personal belief. And so that's what I would say from an AI side.
Great. Well, thank you so much. I think I found a lot of value. Hopefully you all did, out of the conversation we had today. And please join me in thanking our panelists. Thank you all, and I believe lunch is next. So thank you for attending, and we'll see you later.
Sure. Let me know if you guys want or anything like that.
Yeah.
We do tours. We got to get
We just got a drone, dude.
Yeah, we got a drone, but
How do we deliver best-in-class products today while keeping an eye on the horizon of Earth industries? By using everything at our disposal. Because at Viaflex, creating innovative solutions to complex customer challenges is why we exist. Viaflex, protecting Earth, promoting industry.
Home. It's more than an address. It's where you step out and snuggle in, or you share and dream and do. So you shouldn't have to go far from home when you need care. Whether it's for something common or complicated, we believe you deserve world-class health care, no matter where in the world you live, because every patient, everywhere, means the world to us. Here for all, here for good. Sanford Health.
Since 1956, Aerostar has been challenging the limits of technology.
Aerostar is an aerospace and defense contractor that works on high-altitude stratospheric balloons, radar systems, and protective wear. And our mission is to connect, protect, and save lives.
Today, Aerostar is a diversified technology company that continues to be a world leader in the design, development, and manufacturing of aerospace products. For decades, Aerostar has been at the forefront of high-altitude research and has a distinguished history of collaborating with university, scientific, and military partners.
Back in 1956, there was a lot of new technology being developed. There was a lot of testing for pre-NASA space race scientific research. Some of the first work that they were doing with the high-altitude balloons was before they had put people up in rockets.
For years, Aerostar has collaborated with NASA to use high-altitude research balloons in Antarctica. Felix Baumgartner was carried by an Aerostar balloon to the stratosphere, from which he completed his record-shattering space dive. Aerostar has spent decades refining high-altitude balloon technology, designing, engineering, and manufacturing the end product. It is a technology that can get balloons to the stratosphere reliably, inexpensively, and from anywhere in the world.
A satellite is reasonably expensive to put into space, and it doesn't just happen quickly. The balloon is orders of magnitude cheaper than that. What a balloon can do is it can navigate to a certain point that you can specify, and it can linger there for weeks or months on command. I can put it where I want it or in the vicinity of where I want it for a long period of time, reasonably inexpensively and with short notice.
The possibilities only grow as Aerostar develops smaller hardware and smarter technology.
We say not even the sky is the limit. If you take what we know about flying in the stratosphere that we didn't used to know, add into that better battery technology, better solar technology, better computing and navigation smarts, I think there's a lot that can be done that hasn't been done before.
Finding a place to belong is everything. It's where you can make a difference, where you're heard, where you have a team that supports you, and the benefits you deserve. At Avera, you can find that place. You belong at Avera. Apply today. Avera.org/careers.
Oh, hi there. We are Daktronics. We create some of the most sophisticated and iconic scoring and audiovisual systems on the planet that ensure your projects deliver impact. We're a passionate group of designers, fabricators, project managers, sales, service, digital artists, tech gurus, and engineers. We design, code, test, fabricate, bend, punch, insert, paint, pack, ship, install, and service dynamic audiovisual systems. Oh, and we also create the incredible content that goes on them. We do everything, but most importantly, we listen to our customers and together find successful solutions for their brand and messages to deliver impact. From the small projects to the large, that's what we do. We innovate, we design, and we light it up. We are Daktronics.
At Premier, it's about doing what's right for our customers, employees, and communities, giving our time and resources to support what matters most: academics and athletics, arts and entertainment, families and economic development. When you have the right people, financial solutions, and a spirit of service, you build one of the nation's strongest financial organizations. First Premier Bank and Premier Bank Card. Investing in you. Member FDIC.
You've put in some amazing work, and everything is going to come out fantastic. So excited for everything.
All right, Lindsay, it's great talking to you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I'll see you Saturday.
Have a good
Okay,
day.
bye. All right, Maya, what should we do next?
I know.
has 2 bars. This one only has 1. Okay.
Test, 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 test. Test, test, test. Test, test, test. How do we deliver best-in-class products today while keeping an eye on the horizon of Earth industries? By using everything at our disposal. Because at Viaflex, creating innovative solutions to complex customer challenges is why we exist. Viaflex, protecting Earth, promoting industry.
Home. It's more than an address. It's where you step out and snuggle in, or you share and dream and do. So you shouldn't have to go far from home when you need care. Whether it's for something common or complicated, we believe you deserve world-class healthcare, no matter where in the world you live, because every patient, everywhere, means the world to us. Here for all, here for good. Sanford Health.
Since 1956, Aerostar has been challenging the limits of technology.
Aerostar is an aerospace and defense contractor that works on high-altitude stratospheric balloons, radar systems, and protective wear. And our mission is to connect, protect, and save lives.
Today, Aerostar is a diversified technology company that continues to be a world leader in the design, development, and manufacturing of aerospace products. For decades, Aerostar has been at the forefront of high-altitude research and has a distinguished history of collaborating with university, scientific, and military partners.
Back in 1956, there was a lot of new technology being developed. There was a lot of testing for pre-NASA space race scientific research. Some of the first work that they were doing with the high-altitude balloons was before they had put people up in rockets.
For years, Aerostar has collaborated with NASA to use high-altitude research balloons in Antarctica. Felix Baumgartner was carried by an Aerostar balloon to the stratosphere, from which he completed his record-shattering space dive. Aerostar has spent decades refining high-altitude balloon technology, designing, engineering, and manufacturing the end product. It is a technology that can get balloons to the stratosphere reliably, inexpensively, and from anywhere in the world.
A satellite is reasonably expensive to put into space, and it doesn't just happen quickly. The balloon is orders of magnitude cheaper than that. What a balloon can do is it can navigate to a certain point that you can specify, and it can linger there for weeks or months on command. I can put it where I want it or in the vicinity of where I want it for a long period of time, reasonably inexpensively and with short notice.
The possibilities only grow as Aerostar develops smaller hardware and smarter technology.
We say not even the sky is the limit. If you take what we know about flying in the stratosphere that we didn't used to know, add into that better battery technology, better solar technology, better computing and navigation smarts, I think there's a lot that can be done that hasn't been done before.
Finding a place to belong is everything. It's where you can make a difference, where you're heard, where you have a team that supports you, and the benefits you deserve. At Avera, you can find that place. You belong at Avera. Apply today. Avera.org/careers.
Oh, hi there. We are Daktronics. We create some of the most sophisticated and iconic scoring and audiovisual systems on the planet that ensure your projects deliver impact. We're a passionate group of designers, fabricators, project managers, sales, service, digital artists, tech gurus, and engineers. We design, code, test, fabricate, bend, punch, insert, paint, pack, ship, install, and service dynamic audiovisual systems. Oh, and we also create the incredible content that goes on them. We do everything, but most importantly, we listen to our customers and together find successful solutions for their brand and messages to deliver impact. From the small projects to the large, that's what we do. We innovate, we design, and we light it up. We are Daktronics.
At Premier, it's about doing what's right for our customers, employees, and communities, giving our time and resources to support what matters most: academics and athletics, arts and entertainment, families and economic development. When you have the right people, financial solutions, and a spirit of service, you build one of the nation's strongest financial organizations. First Premier Bank and Premier Bank Card. Investing in you. Member FDIC.
You've put in some amazing work, and everything is going to come out fantastic. So excited for everything.
All right, Lindsay, it's great talking to you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I'll see you Saturday.
Have a good
Okay,
day.
bye. All right, Maya, what should we do next?
I know.
Whoop, is this working? Yep. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us this afternoon. Hopefully we can get your energy up here after lunch. Towards the end, we'll be having some breakout discussions and whatnot. But I'm excited to be joining these ladies today as their moderator as we discuss the real costs of recruiting in 2023. My name is Mariah. I am the Talent Engagement Specialist at ISG here in Sioux Falls. If you don't know what ISG is, we're a full-service design firm located in downtown Sioux Falls in the new Bancorp building.
Guess I'm next. My name is Amy Talam. I am the Director of HR and Safety at Howe. I've spent nearly 25 years of my career working in construction HR, and excited to be here. So hopefully we can make this a little more engaging and have some good conversation.
Hi, I'm Lauren Skiebout. I did get married earlier this year, so if you think you recognize me, but not by that name, I used to go by Lauren Nugent. I work with Capital Services. I'm the talent acquisition consultant there. I've been there for about 2.5 years doing all aspects of talent acquisition. Prior to that, I worked in staffing at Aerotech, and I did that for about 9 years. So I got a lot of experience partnering with companies, helping them through their hiring processes, doing a lot of team building, managing recruiters and sales people as well too. So yeah, excited to talk more.
Hello, my name is Mary Jo Vance. I've been in HR my whole career, so long enough that it was personnel for some of you people that haven't ever heard that word before. I'm currently the area HR manager at HDR, another engineering architecture firm in downtown Sioux Falls as well. I've been in manufacturing, healthcare, financial services, and now engineering. So it's a new world for me the last 2 years.
Hello, I'm Wendy Alexander. I'm the talent scout at Poet. I've been at Poet about 3 years. My role is interesting in that it really does work with our amazing recruiters and all of our managers and leaders. And it's a very recruitment, PR, marketing kind of outreach type of role. I get to do a lot of fun things and meet a lot of people. I've been in HR just over 20 years, did lots of parts of HR, really love the recruitment, talent acquisition, connection side. I just love people, I love training, and so I'm really excited to be here. Anybody that knows me, I obsess over these topics, so this is really fun. And getting to work with these ladies in a different way is fun because I've known most of them as well.
I'm joined by a lot of fantastic ladies this morning with a variety of different experience. But during this session, we're going to dive into the true implications of replacing seasoned employees in 2023. We'll explore a spectrum of consequences from diminished productivity and the emotional impact on existing team members to the fierce wage competition that arises with new recruits. Our panel of workforce experts will unveil potent strategies designed to effectively tackle these challenges. The SHRM-BAS goal of this session is the people knowledge domain, employee engagement, and retention. Some background information as we go into the session here, covering the cost of employee turnover. There are some direct costs: recruitment, advertising, and headhunting fees, time and resources spent on reviewing resumes and interviewing, skills assessments or other testing, background checks, onboarding and training, and possible relocation expenses. And the indirect costs: loss of productivity as a new manager gets up to speed, impact on team morale and productivity due to the change in management, and loss of institutional knowledge and relationships. Some research found on the Center for American Progress. The cost of replacing a manager in a manufacturing setting can vary widely depending on several factors, including the level of specialization required for the role, the market rate for managerial talent, recruitment and onboarding costs, and more. However, a commonly cited rule of thumb suggests that the cost to replace a salaried employee can range from 6 to 9 months' salary. According to some estimates, managerial and executive roles may even cost significantly more to replace, up to 213% of the annual salary for a highly educated executive level. For a manager in manufacturing, this could mean that if their annual salary is $80,000, the replacement cost could range from $48,000 to $170,400, or 213% of the annual salary. So with that background information, we're going to jump into the Q&A. All right, so can you elaborate on one key strategy that organizations can implement immediately to address the challenges of replacing experienced employees?
We'll see if this is working. It is, okay. So yeah, I can kick it off. You know, I think when it comes to your experienced employees, it's important to make sure that you're still offering that professional development and growth opportunities to them. Experienced employees could, you know, if they've been with the company for a long time, could maybe feel stagnant in their roles, maybe not sure where they should go next within their careers. And it is really important. Employees want to be challenged. They want to have goals and things that they can be striving towards. So having something in place, whether it be, you know, trainings that they can be doing internally through a learning and development team, maybe it's seminars that they can be going to externally, like what we're all at today, and having that set up through some type of development plan. Maybe it's an IDP, having some specific goals laid out that your manager is working on with your employees to make sure that you're really focused on where that experienced employee is going to go next in their career. And I think it's important too to think about, you know, asking them what they want and what they want to do next. They might not be 100% sure. Employees, you know, change as they're, you know, going through their career and their development, and what they want might look different as they're growing. So really working to set down some type of specific goals and action plans around what you can do to make sure they're continuing to grow in their career.
All right, so I recently heard a question that I really thought was impactful, and it was, is our company what we said it was in the interview? And that's something that I've gone back to my leaders with and said, is that true? Are we telling the employees what our company really is like when they come into HDR on day one? And so that's something that I work on, is really before hire, day of hire, 30 days, 60 days, that we're doing what we said in the interview. And I think that's really important. Paul Danakin talked this morning about how the workforce has changed. When I entered the workforce, I wouldn't have been able to say, you know, I want to work from home, or I need that work-life balance and all those kind of things. So it really has moved to employee experience, And that's okay. And I think we have to adjust to that. I want work-life balance. And so thinking about that, what are we doing along the way when they're a new employee, when they've been here 5 years or 10 years or 20 years, and really thinking about that employee experience throughout.
I absolutely agree 100% with what Lauren and Mary Jo had said. I also feel that it is working a lot with our managers and our leaders in, taking that point of what Mary Jo said. Are we the company that we say we are? And working with our managers to help establish those relationships with their employees. I think sometimes maybe we take for granted those longer tenured employees and don't feel that we maybe need to pay as much of attention to them as we do some of the new hires in that 30, 60, 90, 6-month day. And so working to help them understand that we have to really have that full picture for all employees. And what does that mean? It's not the same. I think we all know that there's not a silver bullet or one thing that's going to work for everybody. So it's really taking and working with our individual managers and helping them establish what does that mean? What does that look like? And trying to work through that leader development and making that individual development plan for an employee, working through all of those concepts so we can create this experience, because I don't work for my health, right? And so how can we continue to have this great experience for people that want a wonderful career that can financially support themselves and their family?
Well, everything you said was true. I agree with everything. I'll take it a little bit further. The employee development is huge. I noticed probably 10 years ago, maybe more, that was right up there with pay and benefits. What do you offer? What is my career path? Even if that path isn't up into management, maybe over, always learning. I mean, we're humans. Humans love to learn. They love to develop. They want to expand and they want to give back. So having options like that is so critical. But we just did a meeting last week with some of our GMs, and I'm just going to say it's back to the basics. So even if you have great pay, great benefits, all these different things, you're going to really have to make sure your managers are good people leaders. So that's hard, right? Companies are large and not everybody has a passion. Be very, very careful that you have people in the right roles, because sometimes in the world we kind of force people into roles that maybe they are not passionate about because it's the next step up, or it helps them get more pay or prestige, quite frankly. But are they doing a good job for your company? Are they keeping the team members happy? You can't always keep your team members happy, obviously, but you want to try. So that's very, very important. And the back to the basics part is truly get to know your people. Get to know your people every single day. It's really, these are the little things. Little things are the big things. Every single day, think about your people and think about what matters to them. Get to know them. It's very important to know what they want. And each of them is going to be so different. And there's, tools in place, like we use DISC at Poet, we use Strength Finders, we use a lot of different things. A lot of the companies I've worked at have done that. Those are great tools to help you figure out, what is this person good at? What is their gifts? How do they prefer to communicate? And again, put yourself in their shoes. Think of the times you've been in a job where maybe, you liked the duties, you liked, certain things about it. But if somebody came to you with 20,000 more or something like that, you would not have left because you loved your leaders, you loved your team, you felt protected and safe. Those are little things that are so important to retention. It's just the extra. You absolutely have to have all that other stuff, though. So it's really down to the relationships.
It's extremely important to set those goals and expectations and keep up on those professional development opportunities and learning opportunities with your employees. With that, what is the most underestimated or overlooked aspect of the real cost of employee turnover, and how can organizations better prepare for it?
I'll start just since we'll go back this way. I think the biggest thing is losing momentum. Again, I've been in a lot of different industries, worked with a lot of different teams and leaders and all sorts of different styles. I think it's how you kind of slow down a little bit. Maybe you were on a plan or a path to get certain things done, and it will slow you down. Turnover slows you down. I had something happen that the other day where it was not bad turnover, it was actually good turnover. Somebody moved on to something totally different. They were happy at Poet and they left because of building their own business. And I noticed that through that, we had a little project that went a little off course. And that is something that can happen with turnover if you're not careful, because sometimes you're all aligned. And so communication is so important when you're losing a team member or team members, because now you have to make sure everybody's back on the same page again. And imagine if everybody stays at the company and everything's going well, you can keep cruising along, right? And even when you're cruising along and everything's going well, there's still some issues usually that will slow you down that you can't foresee. Losing somebody on your team or people on your team will definitely take some time and efficiency, quite frankly.
To take on what Wendy said too, consider the stress that is on all other employees, right? Not only slows the momentum down, but now you have other employees that probably have to take on a different role or take on additional opportunities. And so I think that's a consideration that sometimes is overlooked, that maybe managers don't think about that necessarily because they're not into the weeds, the details of what's happening. They really have this deadline or this project goal. So I think it's a consideration that we have to think about as HR leaders and business professionals of what does that mean for our people, and how do we maybe keep those others not happy, but keep them satisfied in their role as we look to try to find this replacement or whatever that looks like.
I'm actually going to give you a real life example that happened yesterday. I was in a meeting with some of my leaders. We were doing some succession planning, and we started talking about an engineer that has been with us for probably 20 years, probably longer. And he, if you've heard of the diamond diversion on 41st Street, he was the person that designed that. On a side note, it took him 10 years to design that, which again, I'm new to engineering, so that just kind of was crazy to me. But think of all the experience that he has, and so when he walks out the door, are we prepared to lose all of that knowledge? And I think when we talk about losing people after 3 or 4 years, that's that's what happens to the employees. And so for me, the solution is, what are we doing to slow down and making sure that we're showing, in my case, younger engineers how to design a diamond diversion. But the other thing we talked about with this individual is he had to go to public meetings. Sometimes I'm thinking when you're doing public meetings in those situations when we're changing the landscape of 41st Street was not that much fun. I've never seen him in a public meeting, but evidently has done a really, really good job. And we said, how are we gonna have that younger engineer, learn that? And so again, for me, it's slowing down and making sure that we take the time to train the younger people coming into the workforce to do that.
Yeah, I'll say I agree with pretty much everything that was said already. And I would say my response is going to be pretty similar. It's the employee morale and the effect that it has. Sometimes I don't think, it's not always taken into consideration when you do lose a team member. Other people on the team will start to think, oh, where did they go? What are they getting? Or, what's the reason that they're not wanting to stay here? And it might create that doubt or create those concerns in their mind. And if you start to notice trends where maybe a certain department or group is starting to have a lot of that, it's really important to make sure that you're diving in, you're learning more about why you're seeing that turnover and looking to make any adjustments if needed. So.
Communication and keeping up with your current workforce that is still with you are all super important things here. So how do you recommend balancing the need for cost-effective solutions with the imperative to retain top talent and minimize the impact of employee turnover?
Yeah, I think for this one, it's really just trying to understand what your employees' wants and needs are. Wendy talked a lot about that relationship between that manager, leadership, and employee. I think that's very important. But whether you're doing this through one-on-one meetings, through leadership, or you're doing it through employee engagement surveys, it's important to know what are the top 2 to 3 factors that employees enjoy about working at your company. What are the things that are going well? Once you understand that, you can hone in on those things and continue to keep strengthening those items. And it's important to get feedback from your employees on what's not maybe going well or what they'd like to see improved. Through that, you can then look to make plans to adjust those things and work on some of those areas that your employees are wanting to see or needing to see. But I think it's been talked about a lot today in some of the other sessions that there's a variety of what employees are looking for right now. There's a lot of differences in the workforce. So it's really important to make sure that you're listening, you're hearing what they're wanting and needing, and then being able to adjust based on that.
Yeah, and when I look at the question and it says cost-effective solutions, I do think that a lot of the things that we can do in the workforce does not cost us a dime. It's the relationship piece of it. So what are we doing, making sure that our employees feel like they they're going through a difficult time, and what are we doing to make sure that we understand that, let them leave early because they have to leave because of an aging parent or a sick child or all those kind of things. So for me, it really does come down to, it doesn't really cost us anything to do those things and make it a good culture. And then you don't have to worry about recruiting because you're going to have that retention.
To take what Lauren talked about a little bit further with listening to your employees, we heard, I think this morning, that they talked about an employee survey. If you're going to do an employee survey, you want to make sure that, are you prepared with some type of response of whatever that comes back with? And I recently had joined the HOW team in the last year and a half or so, and I would say it was 6 or 7 months ago we had decided to do an employee survey. And of course, right, let's have this conversation. What do we think is going to come back? What are they going to talk about? How do we structure all of that? And part of the biggest response was we needed to find some more cost-effective ways to support our employees financially with their benefits. And so we took that to heart, and now obviously as we go through our renewal, what does that look like, and how can we cost-effectively support our employees in that need? And I think we're getting there, but it's obviously an expensive solution. We can't just pay for health insurance for everybody and those kinds of things. But really listening and figuring out how you can take that information, make those cost-effective solutions for your employees to help support them. Yeah.
It's tough when you're the last one. Agree. So yeah, back to my basics again. Truly, the cost again can be taken care of really by getting ahead of it. So obviously in recruitment, we're always thinking proactively. Think ahead, please think ahead. Think about what would happen if your best team members left. Think about even if your worst team members left. You have to always be thinking ahead, and you always want to not only be out there, what I would call wooing. Anybody that knows me knows that's what I say. But be out there wooing, think about who you'd want to bring onto your team if there is an opening. Please woo your current team members. That cost savings right there by keeping people, not only keeping them, it will save you so much money because they know your culture, they know the products, the systems, the people, they know how to navigate certain situations. It just gets you down the road so much faster and saves you money, but also they're gonna recruit for you too. So it's a little bit of retention and recruitment all in one. Again, if you do not have leaders that are good leaders, good people leaders, please do something about it. It doesn't mean they're crap. It doesn't mean you should fire them. It doesn't mean you should move them into a different position. What it means is develop them. 9 times out of 10, you can develop people. So even if you don't have a development program, start with that. I remember years ago at a company I was at, we didn't necessarily have a leadership program in place, and we had some situations where we had some green leaders that had to get into their roles. And so guess what? We outsourced it. We sent them somewhere. We brought in some training. We started training. There's so many things you can do. In a pinch, at one of my companies, I started finding good YouTube videos and sending them the basics of like, hey, here, leader, here's how you talk to your people. Some of those things can be taken care of so easy and very, very inexpensively. Start a book club, a leadership book club. Start with Simon Sinek and throw them out a book there. Anything you can do to start influencing the leaders to be good leaders is going to help you with retention, and it doesn't have to be expensive at all.
We've been hearing all of those themes all day, being proactive, listening, building those relationships. They're all super important when it comes to recruiting and retention. So moving on to a kind of fun question here, can you share any real-world examples or success stories of organizations that have effectively implemented the strategies that you mentioned, and what were those outcomes?
Yes. I have to say, I mean, of course I work for Poet, so I'm going to say good things, but they do so many things right, and it's really exciting to watch. We have a lot of even strategies in place that just talk about our sustainability. I mean, that's a huge attraction tool for us, and it also is a huge retention tool. So being a part of something bigger than yourselves, right? Like, let's get back to the basics. Humans want to be a part of something bigger than themselves. So talk about those things. We do a really good job at Poet of educating our team members. I really loved how when I came, I knew a lot about Poet, but I found out it was only just a piece of the pie. We have little meetings and things like that, and educational items and great videos and things like that, always teaching our team members about our company and our mission and all the cool things we're doing, outside of just creating ethanol. So that's a really good thing. It's communication, I guess, to boil that down. Communicate. If you do that, that will help retain. So I've seen that work really well. And then some of the examples I've already given, even at other companies as well. Create a leadership program. Always make sure your leaders are great leaders, that they truly, truly, truly care about your people. That is such an important piece that you can't always just expect them to know. So I've seen that help a lot. A lot of companies I used to work at had major recognition programs, kind of the online services, pick your anniversary gifts, pick your retirement gifts, implement things like that. Something that's been really helpful in my past as well is I created I'll call it a stay interview. And so we knew that we were losing people in the first 6 months at that company. And so we started visiting with them. I think we called it a 90-day checkup. So we started visiting with them right away. And we did it, I'm always obsessed with everybody's personality style. So we did it in a way that it gave them a way to do it anonymously with a survey, but then we also set up a one-on-one, because then you could dig into some things, and if they wanted to share, they would. And depending on the person you have running that or the people you have running that, 9 times out of 10, they will share with you if you have the right approach. That is a great way to really listen, and do what they're saying and make it better. We can't fix everything, but you can listen to a lot of it, and it's stuff you can do right away, and it's very easy.
So if you're not familiar with what How does, we're a mechanical subcontractor. So certainly we have primarily tradespeople that are out there working. So when we talk about remote work and things like that, it's really hard, right? You can't put sanitary systems in remotely. You can't do some of those things. So as we have talked about leader development and employee development, it is really talking through to people about an apprenticeship and what that career path looks like. So it's not only for those trades individuals, which we need primarily of, but we also have, engineers and others on staff. So it's really trying to develop this career path for employees to help them see what that end goal can be. It's making the relationships with technical schools and community colleges and universities in trying to identify individuals, because certainly the trades isn't for everyone, but trying to help them understand and see the benefit, what they're doing, how are they helping the community, how are they helping further what we all want in life, is we all want good sanitary systems, and we want to make sure that our buildings are protected with fire protection and all that. So helping them try to understand really what they can benefit from, not only by having a great career, but what that means to them, what it means to the community and their family. So it's really trying to establish that relationship and building those career goals and and trying to work through that.
And I'm going to give an example from now many, many years ago. I was a HR consultant at a contact center. And so for anybody that works in a call center, the turnover could be really high. And when I first started there, the bankers would go through a 6 weeks training. And that first, when they would come in, sometimes they would not know who their supervisor was going to be. They maybe didn't meet them the whole 6 weeks they were there, because we might have changed their supervisor 2 or 3 times during that time because we've lost too many people. And during that time, they're in training. We used to say it was kind of like Disney World. They'd have a lot of fun. The trainers would bring in treats every day. Once they got done with the training piece, they went to what we call the coaching queue, where there were other bankers that were helping them on the phone. At 6 weeks, they went out to the floor. Sometimes we knew they were going to be there, and sometimes we didn't. So their desk might be cleaned, and it might not be cleaned. The supervisor might have been there, it might not have been there. So the experience just wasn't that great. And so when I came in, I said, we really need to change this. And so we implemented some things that before day one, they knew who their supervisor was, and that supervisor would contact that employee and make that connection. Again, I'm going to go back to the relationship piece of it. Then when they came in that first day, they got to meet that supervisor as well. But then the next thing I wanted to make sure happened is that they knew someone else on the team, because they were going to go out on a team of 15 to 20 people that they maybe never met. I wanted them to have a buddy. And so they had a buddy. They maybe had a chance to go to the team meeting during that 6 weeks. And so I know that's probably really tactful that I'm telling you, but those were things that they just weren't thinking about. The other thing that we implemented was each week they met with the supervisor and went over what they learned in training that week. I could have talked to them about benefits, and they might not have even remembered that if you want PTO in your first 6 weeks, you're going to have to ask for it. And just telling them those kind of things. So for me, it was really implementing that. I think when I started, our turnover could have been as high as 90%. It went down. Again, in a contact center, that is kind of challenging. But for me, it was the onboarding piece, what was happening during those first 6 weeks, and that it didn't turn into, once they got done with the 6 weeks, that Disney World was done. I still wanted it to be a good culture for them.
Yeah, so, I'm going to talk a little bit more about the employee engagement surveys. So at one of my previous employers, I really liked the way that they set it up. They basically sent the surveys out, and they used information, I believe, from exit surveys as well, too, and basically collected all that data. And like Amy had said, be prepared to get those responses from your employees, because once you do that, you need to do something with that data. You need to make a plan. And one thing that I really liked was they sent out to all of the employees, here are the top 2 to 3 things that we heard from you, that you told us that you enjoyed about working here. Here are the top 2 to 3 things that you'd like to see changed or you'd like to see improved. One of the things that popped back was wanting to see more of a work-life balance, more of a focus on wellness, and as well too. And they had noted in there as well too, over the next year, don't feel like this stuff takes time. This isn't something you're gonna be able to change in a day, right? But lay out some type of time frame on when you're looking to hit these goals of making these improvements. And we started noticing over the coming months that they would have wellness mornings where they would tell us, hey, you know what, next Friday, you don't need to come in until 9 o'clock. You're going to use that extra 2 hours or hour and a half of your time to go do something that's going to help you with work-life balance, with wellness. We started noticing we would do big sales conferences. And at those sales conferences, 2 of the days they would set aside a 2-hour period where you could go take a yoga class, do a meditation class, or maybe you just need that 2 hours to have personal time, whatever it might be. And when you started to see the company doing those things, you knew that they were listening to your feedback. You began to build that trust in them, that they knew that was an area they were needing to work on, and that they were committed to doing that.
Sharing. As we move forward in a rapidly changing workforce landscape, what emerging trends or considerations do you believe organizations should keep in mind to stay ahead in managing their workforce effectively?
Yeah, I'm going to kind of go back to some of the same themes that we've talked about a little bit already, but I think it's really listening to your employees. I've talked about, the surveys, but I think that one-on-one connection with the leadership and employees, understanding what they're looking for. As people go throughout their lives, things change and their needs might change, and if you don't understand what that is, then your company's not necessarily able to offer, what they're looking for. So I would say just continuing to provide that development within your leadership team, making sure they know how to have those conversations, I think is critical.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think that it will continue to be about the employee experience, and that we're listening to the employees, and that it's not the same for everybody, and we have to recognize that. We can't, you can do a recognition program, but you have to really think about what's important to each of those employees.
So if you've listened to what we've talked about, obviously compensation, right, for an employee is important. We all have bills to pay. I think that leaders and sometimes our business leaders maybe struggle because they're probably more financially motivated than the average employee. So we haven't really talked about compensation, right? We've talked about the employee experience. We've talked about culture. We've talked about all those things. And I think that's what employees really want. It's not the same for everyone. That's what's difficult. But it's also embracing what your culture is, communicating, and then finding those right team members. I think we heard this morning that sometimes we have to be okay if someone thinks that they're not okay, and we have to let them go. And so it's really acknowledging and obviously making sure we have a good culture, right? We want a supportive, proactive one, but it's really looking at all of those aspects in how we can enhance that employee experience.
Well, so it goes back to culture, like you said. Again, I agree with everyone. One thing I've noticed over the years is, unfortunately or fortunately, HR often is in charge, or they kind of set the culture, but that's really that's tough, because it's really up to the leaders. It's up to the leaders, the people managers, the people out there to drive that through. So make sure you're don't just expect them to know that. So if you are the HR team that's kind of managing that, I guess, or building it or creating it and then managing it, make sure you're training on that. Make sure you're doing constant training. I always joke about the 7-time rule, and that's more of a marketing thing, and you can kind of use it for training, but the joke is you say something 7 times, and on the 5th time, everybody says, oh, this must be important. They said it 2 times. So everybody that knows me knows I am obsessed with communication, whether that's texting or videos or in person or email, but you just everybody hears things different. So make sure you're doing trainings. Don't expect everybody just to know what you're thinking. And so do that. And then mentorship. A lot of companies have mentorship programs. A lot of times, even a structured one is important, but those personal relationships that you have matter. I think about how lucky I've been to have some of the mentors I've had that have literally poured into me and made me who I was. And maybe at home things weren't going so well, but I could come to work and I was valued. People valued me, and I knew it, and I knew I was making a difference, and that made me just want to do such a good job, and so pouring into people, even if you're not a people leader, do that. It will help your retention so much. I'm just caring about people, really.
Thank you, ladies, for sharing your knowledge and experience with us all today. Next, we are going to move into some breakout questions here. So we have about 10 minutes to talk through these questions amongst each other, so talk with your neighbor. And then for the last 10 minutes of the session, we'll have some of you share your answers to these questions.
So because this isn't set up necessarily for good breakouts, just turn to your neighbor, turn around, kind of like if you go to church and you shake hands. Just talk to the people around you.
All right, sounds like we're having good discussion here. I think if a few of you would be comfortable sharing some of the conversation that you had, we'll go into the first question here. What do you believe are the top factors contributing to employee turnover in your organization? So if anyone wants to volunteer to answer that one.
So I come from Volunteers of America, and as a non-for-profit organization, it's very tough. We see a lot of turnover just because of the fact that we can't compete with other organizations that pay higher wages. So that's the biggest thing I see is that we have a turnover because pay. It just comes right down to pay. It's the hugest, biggest issue that we have. So that's what I have.
Thank you. Anyone else want to share here?
So this was talked about quite a bit, and I think for us in our organization, the top factor for turnover is actually change, and that's not bad, right? So, but when we look at our data, when people are leaving, much of it is related to change that we've made, changes that are coming that people know about, and sometimes when that's your top factor in your turnover, it's okay because we need to move forward, and there will be people who aren't going to move forward with you. But it's been really good for us to be able to track that, and our turnover is pretty low anyways, but having that kind of backbone to say, okay, even the turnover we're seeing, this is probably good turnover because change is the reason. If they weren't ready to change with us, it's okay.
Awesome, thank you. All right, we'll move on to the second question here. What strategies has your organization successfully implemented to improve employee retention?
When I first started with the company that I work for, I identified quickly that there was a certain job class that we had high turnover in. And so it was critical that we identified what was causing that. And so I did, for the first time in that company, stay interviews, and it wasn't sending out a piece of paper. I actually called and spent an hour on the phone with every site manager in our company and said, what do you love? What do you hate? What do you want to see changed? Do you know why people are leaving? And then we made changes based on that. And one of the probably the biggest factors or feedbacks that I got back was nobody's ever invested in me personally like that. But if everybody's leaving, you have to identify why they're leaving because there's obviously something going on. And people really felt like they were coming to work, doing a job, and not really appreciated. And many times it was nobody's ever asked what I like, what I don't like. And so I think that was the biggest thing for that job class, and we have seen significant improvement since implementing that process.
Thank you. All right, we'll move on to the third question here. How do you measure employee satisfaction and its impact on retention?
I work for a small financial servicing company, and it's fairly new to Sioux Falls, only been around for 5 years, but we've grown in the last 2 years from 25 people to 150, so it's a huge change. One thing that was in place before I even started was pulse surveys. So it used to be weekly, but now we do it every 2 weeks because people get really annoyed by having to fill out a survey every Friday. So we do pulse surveys to see where things are going and where, something of these 6 questions dipped here. Well, what happened then? Oh, we brought on a new client and we were probably short staffed. And so, okay, well, there you go. Let's budget for some more, that kind of thing. So pulse surveys is one of the things that we do to measure satisfaction.
Thank you. All right.
One way at my workplace is just, I would say, like, you know, like we do like what you guys said earlier about the checkup, like making sure we check up on our employees, how they're doing, how they're feeling. I work at McDonald's, so like it's a very stressful environment, and like one thing when it comes to like training new people, like we throw them right out there, and sometimes it's like hard for them to like grasp and understand that we're here to serve customers. And like, yeah, there's going to be like days where they're mean, rude, but most of the time, like when we do check up on them and they're okay, they're just like, yeah, we just don't understand this. Could you help us? Let's like work with it and let's be better human beings overall. And like, I feel like that's one way, like you'd see like they're satisfied. Like they're like over here telling us our problem and what we need to fix. And I just really like when people do that. So then I would try like switching it up, and like I tell an upper high manager like, oh, we need to work in improving on this and making sure that we feel comfortable and everybody feels comfortable.
It's really confusing. More confusing to my husband.
All right. How important is career development and advancement in retaining employees?
Just raise your hand if you think it's really important.
I think not only in the development of the individual themselves, but a lot of times people find themselves in leadership, but don't have the training to be a leader. And that affects the retention of the employees below them too. So I think it's a two-way street here. So I just want to make that comment. Yep.
Right. One thing I'll say about career development that I believe is that yesterday when we had the succession planning session, we were talking about like who's going to be ready now, ready later for the key positions. Sometimes that might be 10 years before that person's going to be able to go into that role. And so having the conversation with someone that we think is ready now for it, and what can we do? We're not going to be able to give them that next position, but what other job responsibilities or whatnot that we can give them now to keep them engaged in the workforce, I think is really important. Anyone else? Sorry, sometimes I can't.
Last question here. How has remote work or flexible scheduling affected employee retention in your organization? And maybe share an example of how you're kind of working with that.
So for us, I work for a very large medical facility in Sioux Falls. So some of us, not all of us, can work from home, and we recognize that. We know that some obviously are patient-facing, but office jobs can be at home. And for some of us, we can employ outside of Sioux Falls, so it saves them the 2 hours of travel time, where 2 hours can be productive. And so for us, it's been a huge, or they're at that retirement age where, hey, now I don't have to travel in so much, that they can keep their job for a while and be comfortable and still have that work-life balance. So for us, it's been huge, I feel like. And then obviously, my cohorts are here. I think they all agree with me.
Awesome. Does anyone have anything else to share before we wrap up here? Or any questions? I think we have like 3 minutes. So if anyone has a quick question that they want to ask.
We were discussing just generational differences and question maybe for the HR leaders here of older generations would have stuck it out and they're gonna work one job or one or two jobs. Middle generation might be 4 or 5, might be expected careers in your. So I'm just curious with the current new generation, what are you seeing for? How many jobs are they expected to have if they're Because we're not going to see people staying in their roles for 20 years, and that's just the reality.
Well, I don't have the stats. I did last week, so that makes me sad. There's a lot more job hopping going on, and it's okay. It's important to know that. But I think I feel like the pendulum always swings, right? And so I feel like it's going to go back maybe the other way, because I think a lot of you have also heard people are tired, they're exhausted, they're burning out. So there's a lot of new. When you're new, it's tough. You have to learn all the people and the culture and the systems and all of that. And same for the teams. And I think you might see that start going the other way a little bit. It'll probably never go back to the way it was. But, it's funny you say that, because I've been thinking a lot. I attended the YPN Summit here. I'm definitely not YPN age, but I used to be really involved in it, and I love it. And they had a speaker here who really hit home on generations in the workplace, which I feel like we used to talk about so much more. And so maybe doing generational training in your company would be a good idea, because it was a great reminder for me, even though I attended a zillion of those in the past, just about that it's okay to be different and why we're different. And then that just know, they are hopping. They are hopping a lot more. You can look the stats up, just Google it. But it really is a thing, but I do believe it's going to go back the other way.
My question is, what are you guys looking in young people who are ready for like something new, or people who just want a change of careers?
Well, so it depends. It always starts with a conversation, just to be like, what do you like? What are you interested in? I do a lot of assessments on people to help them find their gifts and kind of point them into the right direction. My dream is to go into middle schools and get ahead of all of that to help people, because if you're doing your gifts, you're going to love your job more. And guess what? Almost anybody can do almost anything these days. So depending, always try to find somebody that's an advocate for you, like a teacher or a mentor or a manager. There's always resources. Your HR people could help you. There's always people around that will help you with that. And just surround yourself with good people.
I would just say looking for somebody who has an eagerness to learn, who's willing to take initiative. I always encourage people, even if you're not 100% sure if you're qualified for the role, apply to it. When you go to interview, if you don't have that exact experience, maybe doing that before, you can always take examples of your previous roles and somehow tie those into how you would do in that future role. And if you can show that eagerness and willing to learn and drive in the interview, that's what a lot of managers are going to be looking for. So, that attitude.
Yeah. Yep. Do we have time for one more question?
What's one of the main warning signs you look for that someone's about to leave?
What's that?
What's one of the signs you look for that someone's about to leave?
Lack of engagement. Yeah. I mean, totally lack of engagement in the position, right? Not a quiet quit kind of thing, but just maybe just start not to care a whole lot of what's going on or help further whatever it might be, right? So just being engaged.
So like a lack of participation.
Thanks everyone for joining.
How do we deliver best-in-class products today while keeping an eye on the horizon of Earth Industries? By using everything at our disposal. Because at Viaflex, creating innovative solutions to complex customer challenges is why we exist. Viaflex, protecting Earth, promoting industry.
Home.
It's more than an address. It's where you step out and snuggle in, or you share and dream and do. So you shouldn't have to go far from home when you need care, whether it's for something common or complicated. We believe you deserve world-class healthcare, no matter where in the world you live, because every patient, everywhere, means the world to us. Here for all, here for good. Sanford Health.
Since 1956, Aerostar has been challenging the limits of technology.
Aerostar is an aerospace and defense contractor that works on high-altitude stratospheric balloons, radar systems, and protective wear. And our mission is to connect, protect, and save lives.
Today, Aerostar is a diversified technology company that continues to be a world leader in the design, development, and manufacturing of aerospace products. For decades, Aerostar has been at the forefront of high-altitude research and has a distinguished history of collaborating with university, scientific, and military partners.
Back in 1956, there was a lot of new technology being developed. There was a lot of testing for pre-NASA space race scientific research. Some of the first work that they were doing with the high-altitude balloons was before they had put people up in rockets.
For years, Aerostar has collaborated with NASA to use high-altitude research balloons in Antarctica. Felix Baumgartner was carried by an Aerostar balloon to the stratosphere, from which he completed his record-shattering space dive. Aerostar has spent decades refining high-altitude balloon technology, designing, engineering, and manufacturing the end product. It is a technology that can get balloons to the stratosphere reliably, inexpensively, and from anywhere in the world.
A satellite is reasonably expensive to put into space, and it doesn't just happen quickly. The balloon is orders of magnitude cheaper than that. What a balloon can do is it can navigate to a certain point that you can specify, and it can linger there for weeks or months on command. I can put it where I want it or in the vicinity of where I want it for a long period of time, reasonably inexpensively and with short notice.
The possibilities only grow as Aerostar develops smaller hardware and smarter technology.
We say not even the sky is the limit. If you take what we know about flying in the stratosphere that we didn't used to know, add into that better battery technology, better solar technology, better computing and navigation smarts, I think there's a lot that can be done that hasn't been done before.
Finding a place to belong is everything. It's where you can make a difference, where you're heard, where you have a team that supports you, and the benefits you deserve. At Avera, you can find that place. You belong at Avera. Apply today. Avera.org/careers.
Oh, hi there. We are Daktronics. We create some of the most sophisticated and iconic scoring and audiovisual systems on the planet that ensure your projects deliver impact. We're a passionate group of designers, fabricators, project managers, sales, service, digital artists, tech gurus, and engineers. We design, code, test, fabricate, bend, punch, insert, paint, pack, ship, install, and service dynamic audiovisual systems. Oh, and we also create the incredible content that goes on them. We do everything, but most importantly, we listen to our customers and together find successful solutions for their brand and messages to deliver impact. From the small projects to the large, that's what we do. We innovate, we design, and we light it up. We are Daktronics.
At Premier, it's about doing what's right for our customers, employees, and communities, giving our time and resources to support what matters most: academics and athletics, arts and entertainment, families and economic development. When you have the right people, financial solutions, and a spirit of service, you build one of the nation's strongest financial organizations. First Premier Bank and Premier Bank Card. Investing in you. Member FDIC.
You've put in some amazing work, and everything is going to come out fantastic. So excited for everything.
All right, Lindsay, it's great talking to you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I'll see you Saturday.
Have a good
Okay,
day.
bye. All right, Maya, what should we do next?
I know.